and welcome back to another Northwood Tales Spoopy Podcast. And we have a very, very special guest.
Yes.
Her
Whether or not you can see her, our cat has joined us today.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you have a treat. If you're listening, you might want to watch this one instead.
There's a cute cat on the table.
Guest. Her name is Aria, little black cat. She won't be able to add anything to the conversation, but, you know, something nice to look at if you get bored.
Boop, boop, boop.
So with this spoopy topic.
Yes, and she kind of ties us into the spooky topic. It's kind of nice that she joined us today, because our topic today has to do with witches. Kind of, maybe.
Respectfully.
Not quite sure. But, like, the legend involves a witch, whether or not it's true. So.
Yeah, we must preface respect around this topic.
Mm-hmm.
It has been disrespected by some.
And we'll discuss that later on.
Yeah, we just want to talk about it because it happened
here in Minnesota.
Here in the land of 1,000, 10,000, billion, trillion lakes.
10,000 lakes, Wisconsinite.
Trillion, billion.
Yeah, so there's some stuff around this.
Set the scene. Set the spoopy scene.
This is a local legend. It's by no means true, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the legend that has been told.
It was a dark and stormy night. The rain hit the puddle. What?
I'm not quite sure.
Oh. Well, it wasn't a dark and stormy night.
But there was a young girl named Mary Jane, and her last name was Terwilliger, I believe. But the weird thing is her headstone says Twilliger, so I'm not sure if that's... Yes.
Who is this girl?
Because she passed away when she was about 18 years old. But I'm not sure if it makes a difference that her headstone's different, because maybe that was just... Because this is back in the 1800s that this took place in. So I'm not sure if there maybe have been just discrepancies because of that. But Mary was born January 5th, 1862 in Border Plains, Iowa. But sadly, she died on March 5th, 1880. And then, again, her headstone says she died March 8th, 1881. So there's still some kind of, like, back and forth, like, what's actually accurate. Not 100% sure, but it doesn't really matter too much in the legend or the story. What matters is how she died. Spoopy. Let's see. The story goes, Mary was thought to be a witch by the townspeople of Petersburg, Minnesota, where her and her family had moved when she was a young girl. And
was it because she was smart and she had opinions?
That might have been. They didn't really go, well, it was back in the 1800s. They didn't go on her backstory all too much on the articles that I found. They just kind of said that there was 3 girls, and for some reason the townspeople thought they were witches.
Probably because they're smart.
That, or maybe
That's
they were
always
just messing around. Because these are like 17-year-old girls. Like, what are they really going to do? They're going to be running around like...
Future physicists.
But anyways, they had charged these girls with witchcraft, and they were beheaded. And the legend says that if you walk over Mary Jane's grave, you will die in 72 hours. So this might have been a way that, like, parents, you know, scared their kids not to walk in a cemetery and walk over dead people's graves.
A
don't
respect way of
the
saying be respectful.
Yeah, don't disrespect the graves. So that might have been like that might have been how this started, or like carried on just to keep kids away from the cemetery. But her tombstone, along with 3 others, have been moved into a museum in Lakefield, Minnesota, to protect them from vandals, because that's a big thing too, that people want to dig up the grave. I think they still think that she practiced witchcraft and they didn't like it, and they kind of take it into their own hands to deface and break the graves and stuff like that. But they were able to take hers and a couple of others and bring them into the museum, or the historical society. So it's unclear if you're walking over her grave. So that's another thing too. You don't know. So you don't want to be going out there. Like, you could die because you don't know where her grave is and you're just kind of wandering in the graveyard. I don't think even as a child I wandered around in a graveyard. I stayed on the trail.
No.
Like,
I'm
that
afraid
would
of spooky
scare me.
things. Absolutely not.
My friend grew up, like, her farm was next to a cemetery. And they wanted to play, what is that game? Something in the Ghost in the Graveyard. And I was terrified. I was like, I'm not coming with, because it's kind of like a hide and seek in like a graveyard thing.
Oh no,
but it's just for like the spooky thing. And I was like, no, because it was so close to her house. I was freaked out. So, yeah, I don't want to do anything like that. That's not my time, my fun times. That's not what I do for fun. And so, okay, some versions of the legend say that Mary was buried with an axe that she was beheaded with, and she was part of a coven of witches who had terrorized the townsfolk. So that's what the legend says.
So someone cut her head off and was like, I'm just going to bury the murder weapon.
Right. I don't know why they would have. And she wasn't the only one. There was like 2 or 3 other girls that got beheaded that same day for probably being in the same coven.
For being smart.
Yeah.
They're probably little scientists.
But like I was saying, is there really any truth to this local legend? And that's kind of what we want to talk about really today. Like, of course, we want to talk about like, oh, the scary, like if you walk in her grave, you'll die in 72 hours, like, ooh, spooky, like stuff like that. And I don't know if there has been reports of anybody like having an accident or dying after that.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything. There might have been. And maybe that's why more people were like, oh my gosh, this is spooky. But I didn't come across anything. According to a blog post that I found, though, records show that she actually died of diphtheria, I think is how it's pronounced. Diphtheria. In Cherokee, Iowa, in 1880. And Janine Porter, Mary Jane's great niece, confirms that she did die of diphtheria, an infection caused by the bacterium, and creates a thick coating in the back of your throat. So it's kind of like maybe like a flu-type virus sort of thing.
Oh, no.
Maybe. I don't know if it was like too much mucus and stuff that coated the throat, but apparently that's what she died from, and it wasn't from a beheading.
So there's some
discrepancies.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a little bit of like finessing. So I'm not sure who started the rumor, but it could have been traced back to James Sanford Peters, according to one of the ladies at the Jackson County Historical Society. He operated a mill between the lakes, and he blames witches and witchcraft for anything that went wrong with his mill.
Typical man.
So a man in the 1800s blames witchcraft on the ill will that happened in his mill, and
maybe just not, his lack of ability.
Yeah, it could have been anything, really. But that's what the Historical Society said, is he probably started this. And
it was him.
Maybe there was a witch hunt. I didn't confirm any of that.
Ooh.
It's just a local legend. There was no confirmation that there was a witch. So there has been a lot of damage caused by this legend, especially to the cemetery and
I can imagine.
the people that are buried there and the people with family members and stuff like that.
Just a bunch of hoodlums running over graves because of the story.
Yeah, and over the years, many people have damaged the cemetery's tombstones and have even tried to dig up Mary Jane's grave. The lores and myths have caused extreme vandalism to the Loon Lake Cemetery, and they have been doing their best. Did I even say that? This is Loon Lake Cemetery, by the way. I don't know if I ever stated that in the beginning. And they have been doing their best to repair the graves. And in 2018, there was talk about a film being made about a man that stumbles onto, I don't know if they use Mary Jane's name in the film.
It'd be wise not to.
But anyways, he stumbles onto a grave in the cemetery, and it sends him into a nightmarish experience.
Any horrible horror movie concept.
And it was actually released this last October, so October of 2019. I didn't watch the trailer. It was out.
Ew.
And the cemetery, Loon Lake Cemetery, actually has a Facebook page. And they didn't seem too keen on the film idea because they've already dealt with so much vandalism and everything like that. And this was released in October, mind you. It was planned to be released around Halloween. So they were, again, not happy.
They did it for the commercialism.
Yeah.
Not.
So they were afraid of another like wave of vandalism and like traffic to the grave sites that could potentially harm the markers and stuff like that, and
other people who are
disrespect the graves and the family members of the people that are buried. And then I actually have some posts from the Facebook page here that read, as many of you know, there is an amateur, they capitalized all the letters, amateur filmmaker in the area making a fictional, again all capital, movie about Loon Lake Cemetery. People have notified us about the trailer that is out. How very thoughtful of them to have this released before Halloween, just to reinforce, and then this is all in caps, there will be extra patrols leading up and including Halloween and beyond. The cemetery is only open during daylight hours and violators will be charged with trespassing.
Hell yeah, get them.
So they like made it clear, like if there is, granted, I don't know if kids are going to be looking on their website, but just like, hey, the community, at least telling the community, like we're putting up extra precautions so people don't deface these graves or like cause any more trouble for their maintenance crew and the team that works in the cemetery.
Just disrespectful.
Mm-hmm. And then they go on to another post, and that was back in this last September. And they posted again the very next day. And they said, okay, everyone, deep breath. The whole movie thing has many people upset, including our committee. Please note that the posts are mainly out of frustration. Things like this directly affect our cause in a negative way, and it is heartbreaking when so many volunteer hours, equipment, and dollars have been spent getting the cemetery to the point that it is now. And some still have a long way to go, or we still have a long way to go. It is a constant battle to inform and educate people that this is not a party place. It is not some joke for our youth. These are real early pioneer settlers buried here. They are your neighbors, your friends, your co-workers, ancestors. Please be kind and show respect. That is all we ask. Thank you. So that's kind of what they kind of posted on their page. Like, hey, like just be courteous, like please. And they said too that kind of like apologizing but being like, hey, we're frustrated. That's why we're kind of going off a little bit, which makes total sense.
You could go off. It's
like I would be mad about that too.
Technically, if they didn't have any rights.
Right. That's what makes it sound like these filmmakers did not contact them. Even if this is loosely based on the truth, it seems like they used the name or they had somehow mentioned it for them to have found out about this. So you'd think it would have been common courtesy to be like, hey, we're doing a short film like about the area and like we're using a local legend that is fiction for this story. And then this is after the movie released. So the Facebook page posted, one of our members watched the movie that is out just to see what it was about and how it was handled. They shared this screenshot of the credits afterwards, thrilled to see this, with a thumbs up.
Is that a sarcastic?
No, thrill? They were pretty happy because they did in the ending, and I'll read this here. They kind of gave credit, which it's still, they should have done that to begin with. So it's kind of like, Like, it's good that you put something in there.
Oh, yeah.
You could have done something prior. So the credits say, this motion picture is a work of fiction. The character's story and events portrayed in this motion picture are fictional. Any similarity to actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental. There are no witches buried in the Loon Lake Cemetery. There are, however, many real people who braved harsh conditions to settle this new frontier. Should you visit Loon Lake Cemetery, please do so with respect to the brave pioneers who were the earliest settlers of this region. Donations to support the maintenance and restoration of the cemetery can be made by contacting the Jackson County Historical Society in Lakefield, Minnesota. So
they put all that in the credits?
Yes, that was at the ending of the film.
So that's how they cover their butt when they know that they...
Yeah, and that's what I want to ask.
Permission.
That's what I want to ask you about, because you went to school for filmmaking.
Yeah.
What would have been the proper way of going about doing this? I'm pretty sure don't you have to even if they're not getting paid? Wouldn't you at least have a written approval?
Yeah.
Or
so
consent?
you hear about something. It's just like any filmmaker and writer. You hear about something, you're like, oh, that would make a great film. So you write it because you just want to get all the ideas out. Once it's written, then you're like, okay, now what? Do I just go there and shoot, or no? You don't just go there and shoot. You need permission. You need to call them or go there. You say, I would really like to shoot a film here or about this topic. How do I do it respectfully? So you have to get their permission, city permission. Usually, if you're in a public cemetery, you need the cemetery maintenance. So Loon Lake Cemetery, their permission.
Or the city, like you said, if they own it.
Yep. And then any name that is not your own. So if you're in a public grave and you see all these names on the graves, you have to get family permission. It's only appropriate. Most of the time, if you ask the public or, someone of a family, it's like, hey, can I get permission to shoot? Your family's grave will be in the background. Usually they'll say sure or no, but is there money involved?
Yeah.
You can pay them. You can give credit to them, but you never write it, shoot it, and then ask for forgiveness. Usually you can do that for a petty thing, oh, do it first, ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
But not when it comes to an entire city suing you.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of different families that could be involved.
Can you imagine the city suing you, the Loon Lake Cemetery suing you, every family member whose name is in that grave site suing you? That's not pretty. So usually you would like to come up with the idea and then reach out first, because if you can't do it, then you have to change your script. You have to rewrite. Yeah. You change the location, you change the name, you change pretty much everything about it, except the fact that if you step on this gravesite, you die in 72 hours. You can do that anywhere. You can build your own set, make your own gravesite with your, fake names.
And I'm not sure where this was actually filmed, but I just pulled up their IMDb, and they did use, the title is Loon Lake. That's the film title. So that right there is already using the name of the place.
Any film that I've done, I've gotten permission from the landowners. I've shot in museums. You have a contract. You write it down. They sign it. And then if they decide to say, oh, we don't want to do this anymore, you say, contract. Yeah. You sign this. I get
You want a paper trail.
Yes.
For
this,
yeah.
When it comes to you creating art around a topic that is kind of controversial.
Media, you're going to want some sort of approval signature.
An actual pen, not just, word of mouth on the phone. So they definitely did not do this properly.
And if they already caught wind of it, but maybe they already filmed it because the posts were in September of the same year that the film was going to be released, so maybe they did film there. That I'm not sure
I get it for production value to actually go to the site and have it, but if I was doing it and I couldn't get permission, I would change location, name, everything.
Yeah, and it does say in the synopsis or the summary that this man accidentally disturbs the grave of a supposed local witch, Mary Jane Turlinden. So they changed up her last name.
Oh, that is so...
But they used Mary Jane.
They used...
Turlinden instead of Twirliger. I don't know how to actually pronounce that. I'm probably butchering that name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's too close.
But it's very similar.
And you can call me a little baby for wanting to follow the rules, but it's also being respectful. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a budget and you have actors. Like, the actors didn't ask for you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it's not illegal, but in a way it is because they trespassed. If they went there without permission to shoot, they were trespassing. The actors were there, and they probably didn't know.
Yeah, they probably had no idea.
Had no idea. Who knows? They could have all been in on it. It's like, okay, everyone, we're not supposed to be here. We're going to shoot first.
Yeah.
Go really quick.
And I'm trying to, it won't let me skip through, but I'm trying to skim through the trailer just to see if maybe they have a land. I haven't been to the cemetery to find a landmark, but maybe there's like something in the trailer.
Yeah, even...
Okay, there's a headstone in the trailer, but I don't know if they just put this out in a field.
Oh, I mean, if you were smart, you would.
But it has Mary Jane's name on it, but with the altered last name. Yeah.
I get... Okay,
well, they
at
used
least
a lot.
They put the work into changing the last name, but they didn't change it enough.
They didn't change the last name. They didn't change the location name. It's still Loon Lake. It's still Mary Jane.
Does it mention Minnesota?
Yes.
That's... No. Unless you get permission.
Yeah. No, they mention Southwest Minnesota. And they must have shot locally, because this guy is a local filmmaker. I don't know about the actors. I can look real quick just to see if it says where they're from. Yeah, a lot of these are Minnesotan actors.
I feel like they would be a little more respectful if they're locals.
Right? You would think so. But that just kind of goes to show how many... I would hope that these bigwigs that have done...
Yeah.
What, like, is Haunting in Connecticut based on, like...
But
loosely based on a true story, but I'm
they
sure...
had permission from the family.
Yes. Or anything to do with...
They that was one that obviously you have millions and millions and millions of dollars for, to build your own house identical to how the family had their house. If you've seen Haunting in Connecticut, they got permission. Some of the family, they were there. They signed off on it.
Right, and they probably involved some even in the filmmaking process.
Yep.
You would think. If they wanted to be involved, why not?
I think one of them went on the red carpet for the premiere. Like one of the daughters of one of the sisters, something like that.
Yeah.
Look into it.
We don't know too much about it, but like general idea. They would ask permission.
They have permission. That's the thing. You can have a spooky, hometown story. Every small hometown has a spooky story. Mine
mystery,
was the goat man.
Like
goat man's hanging out.
Yeah.
We never went there because it's disrespectful to go and by someone's house.
Yeah.
So we never went to the goat man's house, but we saw it from a distance.
Yeah.
But you don't go there. You don't be like, "Hey, you the goat man? What's your name?"
And the thing is, like, parents do that to scare their kids.
Exactly.
So it's like...
This is a prime example of how legends get started.
Yeah. And then it can lead to trouble for
and then it
everybody.
goes a little too far.
Yeah.
At least no one was hurt in this entire process, but...
It wasn't... Yeah.
It's the fact that, they said...
They're still spreading it and causing issues for the cemetery.
Potential proof that, maybe she wasn't murdered or beheaded at all.
Yeah.
She was ill. So we don't know exactly the truth behind it. So again, that's how spooky stories come to be.
Yeah, and how they're portrayed. And I'm sure things are so much different now than like the starting of this potential or this legend here versus like nowadays what a legend would be. And it would,
it's fun to have spooky legends in your hometown or just locally, but don't be respectful.
Yeah.
Or disrespectful. Don't be disrespectful. Be respectful.
Yes.
Little brats.
So yeah,
I hope it's not real, because that is a spooky concept. You're just minding your own business, walking around, and then...
Oh, that the curse is real.
Yeah.
Or like I would assume it's a curse or a hex if they're portraying this as like a witch and witchcraft.
No, that can stay over there. I'm going to be over here. You know, obeying the law.
Well, and that just goes to show, like, not everything is what it seems too when it comes to all these scary stories and mysteries, hauntings, conspiracies, like, you know, aliens. But like, yeah, there's so much more to it.
Fun
and
idea.
Sometimes it ends up with people getting hurt.
Yeah,
which is
Don't
unfortunate.
Get hurt. Stop it. But thank you for being so involved in this conversation.
She's napping the whole time. Yes.
It's like, this is great. Got these lights and everything. So I hope you enjoyed our guest.
Yes.
Who just
She might join us again. She'll probably do the same thing again.
Yeah. Do a cat cam.
She enjoyed the storytelling.
Yes.
Which is what it is. Storytelling, it is by no means real. So.
Unless it is. No. No.
And this location, I know we talked about in the past about going to locations. I don't want to
We're not going to this one.
No.
Be respectful.
Yes. If you do, again, if you go and decide to see for yourself, be respectful. Don't desecrate any graves. Don't digging up. Yeah. Don't be a grave digger. Don't go digging up bodies. Like,
stop it. You're nasty.
Right. Like, why would you do that? People just don't think about the consequences of when they actually do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for tuning in with us and listening to our story of the local legend of a witch who wasn't really a witch.
She's just a scientist.
She was just a smart girl.
With her smart friends.
I'm sure that guy accused a lot of people of witchcraft.
He can't get a date to prom. You're a witch!
Back in the 1800s, you could do that and get away with it.
Woman doesn't look at him. Witch. Woman has opinion. Witch.
Yeah. Well, let us know below what your guys' local legends are in your hometowns. I know this isn't any of our hometowns. I have one from mine that I don't really remember, and it's not on the internet.
I talk about the goat man.
You can talk about the goat man. Mine is Sally Headbomb, but nobody really knows. It was a last name. But I'm from a really small town, so nobody really knows about it besides like locals. So I can't find anything on the internet. But we would love to know what you guys have for local legends in your hometowns. That'd be awesome.
We'll see you next time.
Next week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.